Hello, this is Laura in Ukraine again, and I wanted to just give you an update of what we've been doing and some things in the news because our schedules have been very, very busy. I haven't been able to track down some of the information and get it typed out for you, so it's just easier to kind of read off of some of the news that we have. But a real quick recap, yesterday we stayed home and rested. It was the first day that we haven't been out on the road looking for supplies and things like that in almost 2 weeks. And so we just stayed at home to get some stuff done here, and it was nice resting a little bit and not being on the road. But of course, we still had work to do. All the men went and helped cut down some trees for firewood. Part of it is a Good Neighbor Project, Park for the Village, and some will come to us today for the wood-burning stove that heats the men's bunkhouse. Pastor Sergey came in the afternoon and did a Bible study and discussion and just kind of talked with everybody and touching a lot on what's going on here in Ukraine and talking about peace in this time of crisis. We did feed the emergency workers dinner as usual. I caught up on some computer work, and in the evening we had our first chicks born in our incubator. We initially had 108 eggs in the incubator, and then we candled them to see which ones were growing. And that was reduced to the number of 93. And usually they say you can expect about 50% hatching. So we had 3 or 4 born in the evening and some more during the night. Today the men are cutting down some more trees and firewood. They're bringing some home now to us. And it's mainly our graduated client Volodya and 2 of the men. The other men were prepping garlic and onion and those kind of things for a lot of the cooking that we do, because we've got a lot of it going on. Mark is back on the road again in the city getting supplies. He took Natasha with him because she wanted to stop by her apartment and get some English teaching books. She's had a number of students and families contact her asking for online classes. The parents are pretty much just wanting the children to have something normal going on in their life right now. The Oblast is trying to decide whether they're going to have online classes for all the children or not. Let's see, Vika was prepping some meat and preparing it for the freezer so that if we need to do something really quick, we can just pull it out and cook it up really quick. We've been buying some big shoulders and rump roasts for pork, huge boxes of them, because it's just easier for us, and we're pre-preparing a lot of those kind of meals. I'm going to be making lasagna here in a little bit, and Vic is going to help me do that. It's going to be for the emergency workers and also here at the center. And I'm also monitoring the chicks. We've had a total of, I believe, 6 of them hatch, and 1 of them did die during the night, kind of had a little seizure that one of the girls saw. But that's pretty common. When we buy chicks from the open air markets, we don't tend to buy the small ones. We tend to buy the ones that are like a month old. Because the little ones, there's just a high death rate with them. So we're expecting to lose a couple after they're born. But it's kind of cool watching them, and I've put up a couple of videos. So in the news, I'm going to kind of share some information from 3 sources. The first one is a government Viber group that I'm a part of, and this is stuff that's just immediately happening. Like if air raid sirens go off in Vinica, I'm going to see it. And I'm going to, call Mark and see how he's doing there, if he's in a store, if anything's going on. So from that group, since the beginning of the Russian invasion, which was started on February 24th, as of March 10th, 71 children have been killed in Ukraine, and more than 100 children have been injured. Some of our tracking methods here are keeping track of a lot of that. Since February 24th, the Immigration Services has received more than 300 applications from Russians living here in Ukraine who want to renounce their Russian citizenship and take Ukrainian citizenship. There was night shelling by the Russian troops in the residential areas of Mariupol, which is a big port city on the south side of Ukraine on the Azov Sea, and it's a very big target for the Russians now, trying to create the corridor down to Crimea. A lot of the volley fire systems were launched, and I'm going to be posting a video later that the Russian soldiers posted on their own social media, and just how they're just firing them off one after another. Another video has appeared on Russian social media of some Russian tanks here in Ukraine, and they were getting a little bit bored, and so they started running over Ukrainian cars and just flattening them. And that's kind of what they're doing for entertainment out in the villages, not in the cities, the villages. Putin has made a statement that he is wanting to attract volunteers to help fight against Ukraine, the Nazis here in Ukraine. More than 16,000 people from the Middle East are supposedly volunteering to come and aid in Donetsk and Lugansk in the east. But he says if you want to see if people want to volunteer, you can meet them and help provide for them. So it's kind of interesting. Ukraine is not asking other countries, but people are flooding in to help Ukraine fight. But Russia has to put out an advertisement, to the Middle East. Right now, Zaparosha nuclear power plant is having a problem. Some of the technicians there are kind of being beaten up and tortured. One of them was able to get a call out and saying what was going on. And Ukraine has been trying to get in repair parts to maintain one of the power units there so that they don't have an accident. But the director of the International Atomic Energy Agency made a statement that they're not able to get through. The shelling continues. Russia's not making a corridor where they can get in with that equipment. Some good news, Ukraine is second place in the overall standings in the 2022 Paralympics. They have 9 gold medals, 10 silver, and 6 bronze so far. So a little bit of good news there. This morning, more airfields were hit by rockets today, some of them further west. And Russia has acknowledged that they've done this, and they're further west than we are in most places. More than 1 million children with their families have fled Ukraine at this point. Russian troops fired yesterday on Oskol, a psychoneurological boarding school for children and invalids. There's 330 people there. Of them, 50 are bedridden and not mobile, and they are trying to clarify how many deaths and injuries there were there now, but it's going to be a huge catastrophe. The Minister of Health, Viktor Lushenko, said that so far 63 hospitals have been shelled and destroyed here in Ukraine. 5 doctors have been killed and 10 more have been seriously wounded. So when Russia says that they're not hitting civilian targets, total lie, total lie. I mean, 1 or 2 hospitals we could see is maybe a mistake, but 63, that's not accidental, that's intentional. From the Kiev Independent online newspaper, a lot of the trendy restaurants in Kiev are cooking for the army hospitals and the elderly amid the war. In Latvia, the country of Latvia, they have renamed the street where the Russian embassy is. They've renamed it Independent Ukraine Street. So some of the countries are kind of getting in a little bit of psychological warfare there, but so now the Russian embassy has to list as their official address, Independent Ukraine Street. Russian airstrikes this morning are confirmed for Dnipro, Lugansk, and Ivano-Frankivsk, which is again in the east. I have trouble saying some of those names. The humanitarian crisis really deepens in Mariupol, the port on the Azov Sea. Russia has said that they're going to allow a corridor for civilians to evacuate and humanitarian aid to come in, but they failed to really allow that to happen, and they continue to bomb every 30 minutes. And it's residential areas and places like that that are being hit by the rockets. They're still trying. The mayor there, Vadim Borchenko, if I said it right, say that the Russian forces are preventing the evacuation of the civilians and again continuing to shell and to stop those corridors that are supposed to be open. In Ukra-Inform, another online news source that we watch, 39 people were killed in the Zhytomyr region, which is just north of the coast along the sea there. Since the beginning of the war, 39 people, including 4 children, have been killed in just the Zhytomyr region, not the state, the region. Russia, though, in this war has already lost 353 tanks, 57 aircraft, 83 helicopters, and over 12,000 soldiers. Ukraine is estimating now well over 1,000 civilians that have been killed in this war, and the civilians highly outnumber the soldiers that have been killed. A Russian journalist, he came to Ukraine from Russia, and he's a very well-known writer and photographer there, and he's coming to Ukraine to use his skills to defend Ukraine against his homeland and against Putin. About 215,000 citizens of Ukraine have returned to Ukraine from abroad, and 80% of them are men who are fighting age, and they want to join into the military. At this point, Ukraine has 4 or 5 levels, if I understand the process, for war and calling people up. The first one is the active duty, which has been called up war. The second one is the reservist and the inactive ready reservist. And that's it. So they still have a number of levels if they need to, but right now, I think I've mentioned before that the president of Ukraine is saying, okay, Ukraine, we have enough soldiers right now. They've been overwhelmed with the number of people who have volunteered to come and fight, men and women. On the way home from feeding the emergency workers, a larger village not too far from us, we saw a number of buses, probably 4 or 5, and a formation of it looked like new soldiers that were lining up and getting ready to be taken probably to some training areas and to be given uniforms and equipment and those kind of things. So Ukraine is really stepping up to fight for their country. Again, I am just consistently impressed with the tenacity of the Ukrainian people and the heart that they have for wanting to live free. So please just continue to pray for Ukraine, pray for us, for our safety, for our health, that we can get good sleep, that we can continue to serve the people here in the capacity that God has called us to. Sometimes, I must admit, we feel negligent almost that we're not feeding or housing more refugees, but the city is, like I said, almost an hour and a half away now because of all the roadblocks, and it's just not productive for us to do that, and there's a lot of people within the city that are doing that. So we just really feel like God is calling us to focus on our village and our little region here, which includes the town next to us and the emergency workers there, and to prepare for the future, because we're starting to see more and more thinning out on the shelves in some of the big stores. They're not getting replacements like they usually do, and there's going to be a food shortage. Mark is trying to keep our vehicle topped off and all of our gas cans filled up for the different equipment that we have here and for the tractor, just so we can be prepared, and thinking about other ways that we can store more fuel so that we don't have to worry about the vehicle, the van, getting supplies and those kind of things. So just some things to pray about for us. Again, just thank you so much, and God is really blessing Ukraine, and the harvest is ripe. So please continue to pray that we're bold in sharing about Christ and His salvation, and giving hope to those who are feeling hopeless here.